You've probably said I could never read on an e reader at least once in your life. I know, I have. For the longest time, I was that person who would genuinely get offended when anybody would suggest e readers. I need to feel the smell of the physical book, I need to feel the pages. I've done all of that. And still, here I am endorsing e readers. By the end of this video, you will know why I switched to reading on an e reader, what changed for me, and whether it makes sense for you because let's be real, it's not for everybody, and I'm not here to convince you that it is. So let's start. So here is where I was, bookshelves full, neck deep in my TBR pile, and anytime an e reader would come up in a conversation, I would always shut it down, saying, you know what, it's not the same thing. And you know what, I was not wrong. It is not the same thing, but I was saying it in a way where I meant that it was worse, and that is the part that I had it backwards. So, what actually got me to cave to reading on an e reader was during COVID when I had to move back home and I was packing all my stuff up and I looked at my books thinking that I had to spend extra money on things that I probably have not read yet. I will probably never get to it. Maybe I saw this certain book 2 years back when I thought that I wanted to read it and I got it, and it has just been collecting dust on my shelf. So that was the first realization that, okay, maybe I need to find an alternative. And coincidentally, 2 months later, when I was at home, I was gifted an e reader, my first Kindle. I forgot the generation, but it was not a paperwhite, it was the version before that. And I was very reluctant to try it, if I'm being honest. But then the adjustment period was only like a week. The thing that nobody told me was that it does not really feel like reading on a screen when technically that is what I'm doing. It just feels like reading on something way lighter and way smaller than a physical book. So, practically speaking, here is what changed for me: space, a number one issue that I used to have, because anytime I would step out, go to a bookstore, I love going to the bookstores, I would always come back with a book or two. And if I had heard about that book remotely on the internet, somebody else recommend, I would just pick that up, which was an issue. So I was running out of space to keep these books. So reading on my e-reader or on my Kindle just saves me so much space for the books that I actually want to get. So now on my shelves, almost everything that I have is something that I really love or something that I want to keep instead of just something that I bought on a whim. Along the same lines, money. This one surprised me so much because in my head, books are books. So no matter if I'm getting the physical copy or if I'm buying it on the ebook store, it would cost the same. But actually, books that you get on your e-readers are actually cheaper than what the physical cost of the book is, and I'm specifically talking about Kindle here. Comparing the Amazon price or a bookstore price, the physical book is a lot costlier than what you would get the same book as an EPUB or a digital copy. And not even that, what I spoke about earlier, that I would just hear somebody talk about a book and I would be so easily convinced that I would go and get that book. But then having an e-reader has sort of changed that because I have the option to just download the sample of the book and read maybe the first 2 or 3 chapters and see if that actually sounds like my cup of tea. If not, no money wasted, no space wasted. I'm good, I can just move on. And then convenience, of course. Convenience is a big one. Anytime you're traveling, if you're reading in bed, you have your entire library in the palm of your hand. If I ever just hit a mood swing in the middle of reading a book, I can just start another one. I can just get another book and just read it. I can read one-handed in my bed with the lights off. While I'm commuting, I can just read on my Kindle without any issue of the wind blowing my pages, whatever. So just this access to millions of books that you have, even though you would probably not read so many at a time, that just gives you a sense of power that you cannot explain. It's just amazing. And another thing which is really big is being able to adjust the font size, because I read everywhere. I read on the treadmill, I read when I'm traveling, I read when I'm working. So, a lot of times when I'm walking or I'm on the treadmill, reading on a physical book just kind of puts that strain in your eyes. So, I can just blow up the font on this and have like one line on a page. It just really suits my eyes. So I read like a grandma, but Kindle has no judgment on that. I can just read whenever. So when people say that you read more when you are reading on a Kindle or an e-reader, it's actually true because it's so convenient that you don't have to think of if you can carry a physical book, if it's convenient to read. It just makes it very easy to read. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, but I love physical books, I'm not going to argue with you because I do too. I have not completely become a digital reader. It took me a while to think of e reader and physical books as an either or thing. It's absolutely not. So, here is how I actually split my reading between reading on a physical book and reading on my Kindle. My Kindle is strictly the first point of contact if I am feeling impulsive about buying a book, if I hear somebody talk about a book and I get very easily influenced. I always download a sample first, see if I'm liking it. If I'm still iffy about it, I would get a digital copy. If it seems like something I would really enjoy, then I get a physical book. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect. Sometimes there are books that have really pretty covers and I want them on my shelf. So I get those here and there. But my trips to the bookstores these days, I don't always come back with something as opposed to earlier when I would just see something and pick that and five more. So my e reader has not replaced my bookshelf, it has just taken the pressure off of it. So if you're considering one, there's not a lot that you need to think about. There are mainly a couple of things that you need to look at. What is the size of the reader? If it has backlight to support night reading, how does the battery look like? And most e-readers, since they don't have any heavy software running on them, last for days at an end, if not weeks. I put mine on airplane mode anytime that I have purchased a book and I'm reading it. It's always on airplane mode. I have to charge this one barely for 1 hour in like 2 weeks. If you are still confused and you want more of a deep dive between if you should get a Kindle or a Kobo, you can check out my in depth video that I did doing a comparison of the Kindle Paperwhite and the Kobo Libra Color, and you can figure out which suits your needs best. I also recently was very kindly gifted the XT Ink X4. It has only been a couple of days and I'm still testing it out, but I am glad to report that I am using that a lot. I'm doing a lot of my reading on that. So I will make a review on that as well, comparing all the three, the Kindle, Kobo, and the XT Ink, because all three serve very different purposes. But if you're starting out with switching from physical books to an e-reader, I would recommend either getting a Kobo or a Kindle. Decide for yourself. You can watch my video. The link would be in the description. XT Ink is something which is very small, so I wouldn't recommend moving from a physical book to a device which is even smaller than your phone. So that's the honest case of why you should have an e-reader as a reader. Not to replace your shelf, but just to make your reading life easier and also a little pocket friendly. So if you have already got one, I would love to know if it actually helped you read more consistently, and if your team physical books all the way, let me know as well. I love a case against me. Till then, keep on reading, keep on thriving, keep learning, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.